Hey, friends, we're here for another episode of the Power of Nine podcast. I am your host, Aaron Eggert. Today's guest is the president and CEO of Brin Glass Company, but that statement does no justice to the path that has led him to where he is today. I am so happy to share with you the journey of my friend, Bill Sullivan. Bill, welcome to the show.
Hey, Aaron. It's great to be here. I am humbled and honored to be on your podcast, and I'm a podcast virgin. So
yeah, I love it.
Be gentle to me.
It's good. We're going to take good care of you. The listeners are going to love your story. When I shot you that message and asked you if you'd be on, and you gave me a very fast response, I was so thrilled because you have such a cool story. So before we dig into things, let's just address your pronouns. If you could share those with me now, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. He and him.
Thank you so much. So I was thinking about this as I was prepping mentally for this call. You are one of the people that has been a huge inspiration to Coalition 9 because we became pandemic friends through video. And you were one of the people that was what I would call part of the beta/pilot groups. And we were testing different things, whether maybe even at the time you knew it or not, or shit, maybe I didn't know it or not. Right. So I think we were all kind of figuring some things out, but that meant a lot to me. And I think you just like signed up on LinkedIn to be a part of this. And then we became friends. And now look at where we are now. I love it.
Right. Yeah. If I recall, didn't it start out to be like Top Gun or something like that? And
I did.
You were threatened with legal action, but yeah, it was a cool experience because we were all experiencing something we've never experienced before with the pandemic, and
it was crazy. Yeah.
And we couldn't go anywhere, and so Zoom was cool, and everybody showed up and everybody participated, and it was a cool experience.
Yeah, I love it. And it was Top Gun. I remember that was like pre Coalition 9 when I just had to put a name in there. And I'm glad it didn't turn into Top Gun, because now that movie's coming out here next month, and I think I probably would have got sued. So
I think Coalition 9 is more purposeful anyway. I mean,
thank you.
The whole branding aspect is a lot more. I think it fits your jam, so to speak.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, let's dig in here. So I feel like we've had a lot of guests here lately that are Scotties. So you're a born and bred Wisconsinite.
Yeah, huge Badger Packer fan. Went to University of Wisconsin, and I was born in Janesville, Wisconsin, but spent most of my life growing up in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I love about doing this podcast is a little workshop in here is that you have to fill out a form that gives me an idea of what your background is, all the things that I don't know. You came from a pretty big family, and it was a little bit of that Brady Bunch vibe, right? So you're merging a bunch of different kids together and stuff like that. There's some interesting stuff about some relationship stuff with your dad getting married a few times and stuff. So let's dig into all that stuff because I love to talk about nature versus nurture. And I think that we can glean some things from that. So talk to me a little bit about your childhood and that experience.
Yeah. So my mom and dad had 3 kids, and they divorced when I was 4. And I was the oldest grandchild on both sides of my mom's side and my dad's side. So I was kind of a big deal back then. And then my mom remarried shortly thereafter and had 4 other children. I grew up with my mom and stepdad and 4 half siblings, and then I had 2 full siblings. It was crazy. I would say it probably started in a nurturing environment and quickly grew to a nature and survival of the fittest. As the more kids came, the house grew more chaotic, and it was interesting.
Yeah. Do you Are you, I'm totally going all over the place here. I think about kids that grow up in families with a lot of kids and a lot of mouths to feed and probably not a ton of money to go around. Do you still eat fast?
Oh, yeah. That's a great question. Yeah, we always, yeah, so I scarfed down my food and because if you were the first one done, you had shots at second. And
Yeah.
so I trained myself and I even when I'm in social settings, I gotta really be cognizant of that because otherwise elbows and assholes are flying to get food in my mouth. So
I love it.
with,
Yeah.
with 7 kids, it was that's the way it was.
Yeah. Yeah. What did your parents do and stepdad?
Yeah, so my stepdad, he worked at Oscar Mayer Corp. He
Mm.
was a union laborer, and I mean Oscar Mayer was headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, and he did a lot of carpentry, remodeling. That there's a whole team of union laborers that Oscar Mayer employed, and he did a lot of masonry, concrete work. They change a lineup and they'd go in and do all the construction of that. And then my dad, he worked at Chrysler Corp in Belvedere, Illinois, as a tool and die maker, another union
Mm.
person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Work ethic, right? So I gotta believe work ethic played a huge role in that nature versus nurture dynamic, right?
yeah, both my stepdad and my dad. And I think just through osmosis, I saw what they did day in, day out. My stepdad, especially because I was living in that household, he worked side jobs all the time, worked as much overtime as he could to make sure there was plenty of food to feed the 7 mouths. As I grew older, I was able to work summers with him on side jobs. We did a lot of concrete work, driveways, sidewalks, patios. We did a few fireplaces inside the home with the big river stones, and that was a cool experience. But I was a grunt guy. I was slinging a sledgehammer, breaking up old stuff and mixing cement but I appreciated that work ethic. And then my dad, we didn't get to see him a lot because he lived in a different state. But when we did, we always looked forward to our visits, and especially in the summer, we'd go fishing, and he would work like the third shift, and he'd leave and drive to pick us kids up, and we'd go fishing or go to a Brewers game or a Packers game, and I just remember the impression that made on me that he just put in 8 hours, drove an hour and a half to see us, then spent 6-7 hours with us, and then he drove home, and
Yeah.
we had a few hairy moments driving. I remember towards the end of our visit,
Mm.
he'd cross the center line and I'd have to wake him up and he'd go back, and he had this thing about slapping his knee to keep him awake, but looking back, you just have all the respect that it was important to those times to visit to him, and he made the effort. So same with my stepdad, the effort that he put in to work all those extra jobs to make sure that we had food and clothes. And so I'm a big effort guy, and I've instilled that to both my kids and whatever they do.
Right.
Effort goes a long way to special athletics. For example, both my kids weren't necessarily the fastest or the most athletic, but both excelled on their teams in high school and everything they've done. So
It's kind of a lesson for life there, right? There's two words that I always think about is attitude and effort, right? You go into something with a positive effort, positive attitude and 100% effort, and you're going to get, and then you can train the rest.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
100% agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So of all your siblings, How many of your siblings went to college?
None. Well, I shouldn't say that. My next younger brother started. He went to the University of Wisconsin. I think he lasted 1 year, and then ended up getting his 2-year degree at Madison Area Technical College, and he was a operating room technician, surgical assistant, and then none of my other siblings. I think they maybe did some coursework, but they all took, started working, or had a couple went into the military, and then got out and took jobs.
Yeah.
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 So
Do you?
I was the only one that went to a 4-year school.
Yeah, and you went to Madison, and so what made you decide that you wanted to go and just ride the whole thing out and go to college?
I had an aunt that went there, and my mom's family had 11 kids, and this aunt was only 9 years older than me, so there wasn't a huge age difference, and so I admired her and growing up, and so she took me to the campus a couple times. I thought that was really cool, and really because I had to pay for my own schooling. We didn't have any money, you know, as a family to contribute to my educational expenses, and so I went to the University of Wisconsin by default, because was the cheapest, closest place that I could go, and I had a buddy that was going there too, and his grandfather owned an apartment building on campus, and right on Fraternity Row. It was a sweet location, and we roomed together in this efficiency apartment right above his grandfather's. The grandfather lived in the apartment building. It was basically a house that he grew up in, and converted it to apartments. So yeah, I could walk to all my classes, and I think my rent was $100 a month. And yeah, it was a cool thing.
Yeah. How were you good? Were you a good student, or average student, or did you just barely slide by?
So it's interesting. So at the time, as you're preparing to go to school, I got accepted. They had to accept me because there was I think legislation that said if you graduated in the top, I think 2/3 of your class, they had to accept you if you applied, and so I was fortunate on that side. But then during the orientation program, they looked at I kind of coasted through my last 2 years of high school, and so my grades weren't that good, and they looked at the degree. I started out in civil engineering. They looked at my grades and they said, this is going to be tough for you. We think your grade point's going to be 1.84. And I'm like, man, that sucks. But I proved them wrong, because I got a 1.0 my first semester, and I showed them. So there is such a thing as double strict probation, and I was on that. And yeah, so my second semester, I took a lighter workload and class load, and turned that around a little bit, and ended up, and basically I had to retake a lot of those classes because I failed the class, and it was just a complete debacle. It was kind of like Animal House 2.0 my first semester, and yeah, but it worked out. I ended up getting married to my high school girlfriend, and yeah, I was 20, turned 21 a month after I got married. Wow. And that really, I guess, matured me quickly. I moved from campus, to not the suburbs, but I think we lived about 6 miles from campus, so away from all the noise, and that matured me up pretty quickly. So
yeah. You're one of the first people I think I've talked to on this podcast for sure, but just maybe even in life, is that you got married in college. And how did that, like, talk about that? Was your wife going to college too? So you were both going to college together, or was she working and you were going to school and working, or what? I mean, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
so she yeah, she started out going to Madison Area Technical College in law enforcement. She had a brother that was in law enforcement, and that interested her, but um, she soon found out that wasn't her calling, and so she started working at a bank as a teller, and she worked, and I went to school, and in addition to school, I basically tried to work. I was worked anywhere from 30 to 40 hours a week, all during school, because, I applied for grants, Pell Grants back in the day. I don't know if they still have them. So I get a few dollars, and then I took some loans and then made everything else work.
Yeah.
So early on, I worked at McDonald's, and as much as I could, because every time you worked at McDonald's, you got a meal, free meal. And you worked 8 hours, you got 2 meals. So
Right.
that was how I factored in my weekly grocery bill, is how many days I was going to work at McDonald's.
Yeah. Did you, so McDonald's at that time is a little different than McDonald's now, but they still run under the same premise. And I have, one of the things that I love about McDonald's, I'm not a huge fan of their food now,
Right.
but what I love about it is that you get the same thing every time, right? And so it's a very well-oiled machine. I gotta believe that had some kind of influence on you understanding like how important process is in not only just in business but also in daily life.
Yeah. So when I started there in high school. As soon as I got my driver's license, it was like, okay, if I want to buy more clothes and look cool and join Columbia Record Club and all those things,
Yeah.
I needed some cash, and so I gave up sports and took a job. But when I started at McDonald's, you're right, they had video training sessions for every job, and they had a crew trainer that walked you through that process, and then they job shadowed you as you did the job, and made sure you were proficient before they cut you loose, and that made a huge imprint on me. And I think within a year, I was a crew trainer,
Hmm.
doing those types of things, and then on the weekends, I would come in early, and I was the guy that set up all the machines, the shake machine, and cleaned out the fryers and put in fresh lard and all that. But yeah, you're right. Every process was, toasting the buns to frying the burgers. Everything was timed, and then you completed the sandwich. And back in the day, they pre-cook things, and then they put a tag on them so they knew when to throw them out. So you had to balance your inventory, manage inventory, and so you learned a huge skill set. So
Yeah.
interestingly, it's the only job I was fired from, though, too. So
we don't have to spend all day on this, but so why did you get canned from that job?
basically, because I thought I had a little issue with authority, especially if I thought they were a dumbass, and sometimes my mouth gets me into a little trouble, and so I got terminated. I deserved it, but that's another thing about me. I called up the district manager, who I knew, which is weird in itself, because I played on the company softball team, and I said, hey, I don't think I should have got fired. Maybe I mouthed off a little bit too much, but I want a job back. And he goes, well, I can't have you work there. And I said, I don't necessarily need to work there. I'm going to be starting college.
Yeah.
Can I go work at the McDonald's on off State Street there in Madison? And he said, yeah, I don't have any problem with that. And I happen to know that store manager. I used to work for him, he said, yeah, we'll take you back, but gotta
Watch your
watch your
mouth.
P's and Q's. But never had an issue after that, and never,
Yeah.
knock on wood, never been terminated since. So, but yeah.
Hey, let's take a quick break and hear about a few of our supporters. When you think of a typical CPA firm, you probably think of tax planning. Well, that just scratches the surface of what Boulay offers their clients. By providing smart, in-depth thinking from experts in accounting, audit, tax, and business consulting, they know what it takes to achieve financial success. Whether it's protecting your business, building your wealth, or securing your future, you can count on Boulay to go beyond addressing just financial matters and providing you with tailor-made, workable solutions. Learn about all they have to offer at BoulayGroup.com. Boulay, helping you get there. United Healthcare believes there's no limit to what care can do. UHC is continually focused on building a modern, high-performing health system via improved access, affordability, outcomes, and experiences. With a network of over 1.3 million care professionals and 6,500 hospitals and care facilities, United Healthcare is dedicated to connecting you to better health by offering quality benefits designed for affordability. Go to uhc.com for healthcare plans, resources, and more information. United Healthcare, helping people live healthier lives. Regardless if you're a startup just figuring things out or a medium-sized organization with a full team, having a legal partner by your side is crucial. Seiler Law is fiercely loyal to their clients and are passionate about removing headaches and roadblocks that can pop up during the growth of your business. Whether you need general outside counsel, are planning a business transaction, or even need someone to help guide you through the estate planning process, the team at Seiler Law are the advocates for you. Visit seilerlaw.com to learn more. Seiler Law, where experience meets pragmatism. Okay, back to the show.
So so right after school, you got into glass, and you could look
Yep.
at it and say that you spent your entire career with the same organization, but you kind of didn't, because there's a lot to dig into there, right? And so
Right.
they've all intertwined. So let's just start out first with what brought you to Brin Glass and what in Minnesota? Like, did they recruit you? Did you find out about, like, how did this all shake out?
Yeah, so I graduated with a degree in construction administration, which is construction management degree. So cross-sectional coursework in both business and technical engineering, statics class, estimating, critical point scheduling, things of that nature. And you're kind of groomed to think that you're going to go work for a general contractor, and you're going to either start out as assistant project manager or assistant estimator. And so that was kind of where I was thinking. But then as you start looking, there's all the specialty subcontractor opportunities out there. And back in the day, this is before the internet, right? That's how old I am. And you had to go to either the college job board to look at postings, or you went to the library and checked out like the local newspapers. And I looked at Minneapolis and Milwaukee and Chicago. I kind of wanted to leave Madison, being the oldest of seven, kind of wanted to get away from home. And I applied for a job at Brin as an estimator in their contract glazing department. Ended up not getting that, but the president reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're creating a new position. It's called maintenance sales." And I didn't really want to go into sales, but I wanted a job, so I took it. I started in July of '84, and I said I'm going to only do this 6 months and get my roots planted and find something else. Well, 38 years later.
Right. We know how this story turned out.
But it's been a great career. It's provided me a lot of opportunities. Nothing was given to me, about effort and asking, for opportunities. And, I started in customer service. That was a great training exercise. And it's interesting. When I interviewed, one interview, I interviewed with the president of the company. never interviewed with my boss. And he hired me on the spot, and yeah, I started in customer service to for my training, and within 6 months I was making sales calls, and they gave me like $50,000 book of business.
Nice.
Which was like, even
Yeah.
I was naive, but I wasn't that naive to,
Yeah,
hey,
right.
that's a shitty
Right.
book of business you're giving
Yeah.
me. That's
Yeah,
like
right.
no business.
Yeah,
And
right.
but I was successful. You know, again, I was a master of cold calls. I just started knocking on doors and called on the downtown markets primarily for glass repair and door repair, and yeah, then I had wanted to grow within the company, and I remember, and I still have a copy of it. I typewritten back then, again, no computers. I wrote up my goals and delivered them to the president of the company, and outlined different areas I wanted to grow in. And we kind of skipped right to a general manager spot. Brin bought a company in 1990. Should back up. So I ended up getting divorced and shortly after starting my career at Brin. And then Kathy, my wife of almost 32 years, who you've met several times, we got married in 1990 October, and in December of 1990 I went up to manage this business that we bought, Heartland Glass in St. Cloud. And that was a great opportunity. It was, again, interesting. Didn't have a lot. I think their annual sales were 350,000. And the two founders were my employees. You know, they're in their 50s, and here I'm a 28-year-old wet behind the ear guy, never managed anybody really. And they were taking cues from me, and but we had a great relationship. I didn't try to tell them what to do. I let them, they were the experts in their field, and I just concentrated on revenue and building revenue. Yeah, and I was there. I got to become a minority partner, and so I had some skin in the game. And in 2007, we were coming off record years, and I'm like, I'm going to take the man down. And I told my partner I wanted to buy him out, and after, it was a friendly transaction, but it took 10 months to do the deal. But not great timing on my part, right? 2007.
Right. I was just going to say, you're right before, no better time to just take down the man than right before a recession.
Right. So, but yeah, I learned a lot. We survived, and you know, but it was challenging. I remember having to use my own personal line of credit to make payroll a couple times, you know, and so, which was useful. So when the pandemic happened this year and things started going, or not this year, but 2 years ago, again, economic pressures caused us to make some decisions that, you know, and we never use our line of credit here, and we had to dip into it briefly. When people were freaking out, oh my God, I said, geez, don't worry about it. It's fine. So we, as part of a succession plan in 2013, remerged back together, started an ESOP, which was really attractive to me. And I started out at our contract division that they were struggling, and was able to turn that around. And that was an interesting experience. And then 2016 became president, and 2019 took on the additional role of CEO.
So
that was a lot there. So
that's good. I'm so glad that you were in kind of a stream of consciousness. So I wasn't going to jump in, but I do have a couple questions. So in the Heartland experience, right? So of buying that business and then eventually coming together with Brin, what were some of the, so you said, that was a 10-month ordeal. What were some of the lessons that was your first, we'll call it a acquisition or whatever, a purchase of a business? What was a major lesson or a couple lessons that you learned in that? Because that took 10 months, there's got to be some things that you can pull and glean from that.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of emotion on both sides, especially my partner. This is, it was an emotional decision on his part to let go. And he likes to be in control, or did. He's passed now, but he liked to be in control of everything. He was an accountant, CPA by trade, but yeah, so we couldn't agree. This is a funny story. We couldn't agree on the cost, and he said, "Well, go hire a valuation accountant, and they'll set a price, and we'll just go by that." So I did that. He allowed me to go find somebody, and your audience can't see the props, but I got a notebook here, and I handed him the notebook with the dollars. He looks at it, and he always had a cigar in his mouth, even when we became no smoking. He still chomped on a cigar all the time. And he looked at it, and he throws it back at me. He goes, "He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about." I said, what are you talking about? But it spurred us to get the deal done. And so trying to keep your emotions out of decisions like that, just any decisions, really affects your ability to get a deal done or make the right decision.
Right.
So
right.
I would say that was a big takeaway. And then we're going through an acquisition right now, and I told the owner, I said, "This is going to be a long deal, and it's going to be emotional for you because this is your baby, and so just be patient, ride it out." So it's been going pretty good. So
there's a good lesson there, right? That you were
Yeah.
able to use, push forward. I do think that, there's an interesting dynamic to any type of merger / acquisition or anything like that, is that you can get a valuation done. You could get 10 valuations done. It doesn't matter, because all that matters is what that person's going to pay for it.
Exactly.
Right.
And what that person's willing to sell it for, right? I mean, that
sure.
usually drives it. So who wants it more, right?
Right.
Basically, yeah. So
there's that human dynamic all the time, right? So then, another thing that I think a lot of people ask this question when they're thinking about transitioning their business, they start thinking about the ESOP thing. And you said you were attracted by it, but you hear a lot of different perspectives of it. Some people think it enhances the culture and will because they've got skin in the game, but really, does it? What are your thoughts on the transition from being privately held into ESOP, and then how does that affect the culture?
Yeah, so it's interesting, and we're unique because we have roughly 190 employees, but about 110 of our employees are covered by a collective bargaining agreement, and so they're not part of the ESOP. So, minority of our employees are part of the ESOP, and for those people, they understand culturally where we're trying to go, and they understand now. We're in year, let's see, we started 13, so going on our 9th year, I guess. The wealth generation that it can create for you, and we've been successful, and so our share price has gone up dramatically since inception. But there is a challenge because on the culture side, because we do have two different groups of employees, and our union employees are just as important as our office professional employees, and to create a culture that talks to both sides has been a challenge, and we're improving on that, and it's a work in process, so.
Yeah. What would you say is one piece of advice you'd give to somebody if there is, so, you know, a lot of privately held businesses or their founder related businesses, they can't transition it to a family member or they don't want to. So they're exploring ESOP. What is one piece of advice that you would give them as they explore ESOP?
Well, make sure you have somebody that you're comfortable with that's going to lead the company when you leave. That's that's huge. And that's what I am going through right now, is trying to develop internal candidates that potentially could succeed me. My former partner identified me. We had, you know, many years working together, and so he knew my skill sets and identified me as a potential candidate. As far as I know, the only candidate. And then also, I think the whole ESOP transaction, when you're selling, there's a mechanism in place that cuts down a lot of the negotiation. There's a little bit negotiation on the price, but I mean, your share price is your share price, and so there is that was a mechanism that was attractive to me when I merged back with Brin, because as a small business owner, you either have to get lucky and find somebody that's interested in your business, or you're going to have to sell it to an employee, and you're probably going to have to finance the deal, and you're probably going to get it back, and you know, find another employee to take it over. And I wasn't interested in that. So the ESOP was attractive for those reasons to me.
Yeah. Do you, so you guys are celebrating 110 years. I kind of seen some of this stuff on LinkedIn, and because I follow Brin Glass,
Yeah.
but I also, you've talked about it multiple times. One question that I have in a business that's been around that long, what do you do as a leader to help encourage creative thinking, to keep things fresh and vibrant in what could feel like an older company?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So we have 5 divisions, 4 different locations, and as we've grown, each of those divisions became silos and competed with each other, basically, for being the best division, and collaboration was minimal between the divisions. And when I became leader and then assumed full control, I realized we needed to create more collaboration, and so then I made the decision, and it was through our connections that summer of 2020 with the first Coalition 9 group. Justin was in that group, I think, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And
Justin
he was
Cox.
the EOS implementer, and I have mucho respect for him. He said, you know, he gave us the 90-minute presentation on EOS, and he said, you got to determine if this is right for your company, and then you got to determine if I'm the right guy. And so I said, yeah, that's a good point. So we interviewed a couple other companies, and one was Keystone International Group, Jamie Tates and Chelsea Paulson. And this is a funny story. I reached out to Chelsea because she was huge in the ESOP world. She was our chapter president. She worked for North Country Business Products, and I knew they practice EOS. And so I called her up. I said, hey, Chelsea, how's this EOS work for you guys? And she says, it's great, and blah, 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 blah. And she goes, but leaving North Country, and I'm going to Keystone, and I'm going to be an implementer. And I said, oh man, touchdown.
Yeah, right.
And
Right.
Yeah, she's just awesome. But to your question, we now have vision. We have a 5-year plan. We have a 10-year revenue goal. It's really been impactful. There's some hiccups with right person, right seat type thing. We've had, as we hold people accountable, we've had people self-select to leave, and that's just part of the process. But it's been really great for creating cross collaboration between all our divisions. Those barriers, those silos have been broken down, and through this process, whoever succeeds me, there's a plan in place, a vision that they can step in, and there won't, hopefully, there's always going to be some change when a new leader comes on board, but hopefully it's going to be minimal, because we've had challenges replacing other leaders in the organization pre-EOS, where a new person comes in, and I've had to replace a 44-year tenured manager and a 35 tenured general manager. And you bring somebody new in with fresh ideas, and it's like, whoa, too much change. And some staff can adapt and others can't. And there's a lot of conflict that arises. And so my thought is, if we're working on a common vision and common goal, that should lessen those conflict situations.
Okay, here's a few more of our supporters. The topic of talent is hot in organizations of any size, and I would argue none more than small to mid-sized businesses. That's why it's crucial to have a partner to help you navigate all the HR idiosyncrasies so you can focus on working on your business and not in it. Insperity is a full-service HR partner with a high-touch, high-tech platform helping owners work through challenges like employee retention, company culture, and benefits, just to name a few. Do yourself a favor and explore all they have to offer at insperity.com. Insperity, HR that makes a difference. If you're anything like me, you know enough to be dangerous when it comes to finance, yet need some help when things are complicated. All-in-One Accounting provides the right financial expertise and leadership to align with your stage of growth. From outsourced accounting and bookkeeping to strategic financial planning, the team of accounting rockstars at All-in-One Accounting are passionate about positively impacting the lives of their clients. Check them out at allinoneaccounting.com. All-in-One Accounting, taking our clients from financial chaos to business clarity and beyond. Listen, people, everyone needs a bank. Not just any bank, a good community bank. From personal needs like checking and savings accounts to business services like financing and M&A support, the team at Flagship Bank is there to provide you with the assistance you need so you can spend less time thinking about your finances and more time enjoying what your money can do for you. To learn more, head over to flagshipbanks.com. That's flagshipbanks with an S.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Flagship Bank, investing in you. And back to the show.
One thing I want to make sure that we do address, we've been referencing Brin Glass and Heartlet and all this stuff. Well, we got to talk about what they do, right? So tell me what, maybe give me, you don't have to do like an elevator speech. I don't want it to sound too canned, but tell me what Brin Glass does.
We are involved in the glass and glazing business. So we complete life cycle of a project, from fabrication, manufacturing, to installation, to service. So our ultimate goal is to touch every component of a project, either by manufacturing it, installing it, and then we can follow up with the service after for many years. The IDS, we service the IDS and replace all the glass, about 100 panes of glass every year at the IDS. And we've been doing that for as long as I've been at Brin, almost 40 years.
Yeah. All right. Good segue on that. So you've been doing this for 38 years or 38 plus years, almost 40 years. What keeps you going every day? Like, what gets you up in the morning and keeps you fired up for leading this organization?
People, when I was in sales, I just got a big charge out of helping my clients find solutions to their problems. And now it's really helping my internal clients, my employees, with helping them. I take on a mentorship role to a couple key employees, in addition to my leadership team, but I go down a level to some key people and meet with them on a fairly regular basis. And when I can help them realize that they have the capacity to solve the problem or issue, I just get a big charge. That gives me energy, and I enjoy working. I'm usually here at 7:30, and I'm one of the last to leave at 5:30. I got that
Yeah.
old boomer mentality. So
Yeah. How long you want to do this for?
I keep telling the team 2 to 4 years, but I've been saying that for 2 to 4 years. So we'll see. Even when I retire, I'll if the board will have me, I plan to remain on as chairman of the board and continue that, so that I have I can continue to assist. And I have so much, how do I want to say it, just tribal knowledge about everything of this business, that it's going to be hard to just like, I can't put it on a thumb drive and plug it into the other
Right.
person and it's right there. So
Well, I think
I'll stick around. I want to make sure this is successful moving forward, and so that's my goal.
I think that's one of the things that we're challenged with in the current workforce now, is because we're in unprecedented times of having 4 generations in the workforce, but there's just so many people leaving the workforce and so much knowledge and experience leaving the workforce, that to have someone like yourself, even as chairman of the board, or just being a resource from a mentorship coaching standpoint, could be so valuable in that transition, and then obviously fill your cup so that you feel like you always continually have purpose.
Right. Yeah, I 100% agree. So it'll be hard to leave, but if I can find that place that works out, where I'm not overstepping my bounds, and kind of come in once a week or once a month, whatever that looks like, to kind of help, that would be great. So
Yeah. What do you want to do in retirement? You want to go sit in the woods somewhere, or go sip margaritas on a beach, or a little bit of
yeah,
both?
all of the above. I want to, my wife Kathy and I, we probably want to travel. Hopefully there'll be some grandkids in our future and get to spoil them, but I'll continue working in some capacity, because I just can't just sit around. Do a little more golfing. I want to find the right organization where I can volunteer my time in some capacity, and maybe sit on a few board of directors, positions.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Good.
So
Good. Talk about your family a little bit. So I've met your wife, Kathy, and you've talked about your kids. So you have 2 kids?
2 kids, a daughter who's 28 and a son that's 26.
Yeah. And you just celebrated a marriage?
Yeah, our daughter got married last year, and interesting, the pandemic in some ways has blessed us, because both of our kids live in the Twin Cities now, and pre-pandemic we thought our son would be on the East Coast and our daughter was going to be in Wisconsin. I had brainwashed her to go to the University of Wisconsin, and she got a job with Aldi food company, and was working in Appleton and as a district manager. And her boyfriend, fiance, lived in Kohler and worked for Kohler, and they started looking for a job in the same city to prepare for marriage, and they were looking in Milwaukee, Madison, and Minneapolis. And before the pandemic started, he got a job as a senior finance analyst at Digital River, and I think they're Minnetonka. And then she followed up shortly thereafter in April, moved together, and they just bought a house this year, got married last year. Sure, dog's coming next, and they already told us don't bug them about kids for 3 years. So,
Very good. Just get a dog.
Yeah. So she works for United Food International. She's still in the food business and doing well, and already got a promotion. And our son, he was going to grad school in Montreal, Canada at McGill University for architecture, and pandemic hit. He got kicked out the country. I shouldn't say kicked out, but had to leave, and he completed his master's living with us, and that was a great experience. We got closer, and he graduated December 21 and got a job right away. He works for HGA. He pounded out his 6 exams and got his licensure already. And so he's doing great. He moved out last November. So yeah, it's pretty cool having both our kids within.
Back home.
Yeah.
I love it. Good.
And they like hanging out with us. So that's other cool thing.
That's well, that's what's great about as your kids get older, they become your friends, right? And
right.
You can take that relationship to the next level.
Right.
Yeah. I love this. I could talk to you all day. We got to pack this into an hour, and but someday we'll have to maybe continue that conversation over beers. So I'm going to transition to the 9 questions, and
right.
The part you're the most excited about, you
right.
told me. So can you confirm to me that you have no idea what I'm about to ask you?
No idea.
All right, good. All right. Question 1, what is your favorite hobby?
What is my favorite hobby? I would say golf, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you good?
No, I'm bogey golfer. So.
All right. Good.
I'm taking lessons. I want to be better. I'd like to get down to maybe single digit.
All right. Cool. We should go out sometime.
I'd love it.
I play bad golf. I'd love playing bad golf. All right. Good.
Drink a beer and play bad golf together. I love it.
All right. I'll work that out with you offline. This is a good summer to do that. What are 3 words that describe you?
Competitive, intense, and funny.
I love it. You do have a good, I would almost qualify it as a dry sense of humor, and a little bit of sarcasm in there.
A lot of sarcasm.
Yeah, I got that. What is one quality in a person that impresses you?
Effort. I recognize effort in people, and I know I can see a slacker from somebody that's driven and wants to do well in their whatever they're doing. Yeah.
All right, close your eyes. What is your favorite sound?
Running water.
Oh, why?
I don't know. There's something about that. And I keep trying to coax my wife into letting me get a little. We live on a lake, so she goes, "Wait." I said, "It's not running though. I want one of those water features that I can hear water running."
Yeah.
So
yeah. Oh, good answer. You came up with that fast. So that was you thought about that one. What is the last gift you gave someone and were given by someone? So that's a 2-part question.
Well, if you count giving away Timberwolves tickets, I gave my daughter and her husband Timberwolves tickets to the game last night. So,
all right. Yeah.
And the gift I received, I know what it was. I attended a conference in Nashville, National Glass Association, and I was bestowed, hang on, I'll show you.
You're a glass nerd.
I'm an official glass nerd. So
I love it.
That was the best gift. So
all right. Good. Good answer. What is one accomplishment of yours that you're the most proud of?
That my wife and I raised 2 beautiful human beings. They are great people. They work hard. They give their best effort. That's my biggest accomplishment, I would say. More my wife's than mine, but yeah.
Right. Well, you played a part in it. You're half of it. What was your first concert?
Peter Frampton. Yeah. Jay Giles opened up for them, or for him. And trying to think, there's somebody else, but yeah, that was the first. I was a big concert goer back in the day.
Yeah. Where was that concert?
Dane County Coliseum in Madison, Wisconsin.
All right. Good. When I say the word mentor, who do you think of and why?
That would be Doug Nelson, my former partner. He was a mentor in a lot of ways, not only business, but life. He was easy to talk to, and he taught me a lot about life.
We could probably spend a whole podcast on that, I suppose, huh?
Yeah, he was a unique individual, and impacted a lot of people's lives. And he was very generous with his time and his money. And, I was fortunate enough to give a eulogy at his funeral. And there was a ton of business leaders from the Twin Cities in there.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. How do you define success?
Whatever you think it is. I mean, I think people should be in a job that makes them happy, and that, I like to have fun. And I tell people, if you're not having fun, if you don't enjoy getting up, you're in the wrong job and you shouldn't be working here. So yeah, I think success is being happy with yourself.
Yeah, good answer. Okay, so before we wrap up here, I want to make sure people can know how to find you. I will put anything you share in the show notes so we can hot link them. So how can people get a hold of you?
Probably LinkedIn is the easiest. Bill Sullivan, Brin Glass, and my email address is bsullivan@bringlass.com. Yeah, I'm always available. Reach out. That's one thing that I get a ton of LinkedIn requests, and I don't accept them all, but if there's a common connection, and if they put a narrative on why they're reaching out, I usually respond and will take their request, because I was that guy making cold calls back in the day, and so I respect people that do that. So
yeah. Well, I'll tell you, man, you are such a valued part of this community that we're building. Yeah, just an example of that is I cold called you a couple months ago because I had a member that was looking for a mentor that had all the qualifications that you have, and you didn't even bat an eye. It was a no-brainer for you, and that's the type of attitude and the type of people that we're going to, have a broader impact on our greater business community. And I love you being a part of this, man.
Well, I love being a part of the community, and I share this with you. I feel I get to hang out with the cool kids.
Yeah.
And so I like it, and I appreciate you giving me that opportunity. That person and we've hit it off, and I think I'm learning from him, and he's learning from me as well. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being a part of it. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate you being on this show. Thank you so much. On behalf of Bill Sullivan, this has been the Power of Nine podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Eggert, and I want to thank you for the privilege of your time.